Hi there, my name is Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So I've got a new series for you, which I'm doing in collaboration with Maury Rutch from Maury's Music, awesome Martin guitar dealer. We're going to talk about a particular style of Martin guitar in detail, take questions and answers from you, and give our own personal opinions and thoughts on these guitars. So today we're going to start with the OM guitar, and I'm going to bring Maury in. How you doing, Maury?
I'm doing very well. Thanks again for having me, Aaron.
No, thanks for being here. It's awesome. I see you have a guitar with you. I don't actually own an OM right now, so I'm glad you have one there. That's good.
You don't?
No, I don't. Maybe I have to look for one from Maury's Music. I'm just kidding. All right. I've got a format planned out for this. The Martin OM is one of the most revered Martin models, right? I mean, the Dreadnought. We couldn't decide if we'd start with the Dreadnought or the OM. They're both really.
I believe it.
They're right. So. They're right up. They're right up there. So we're starting with the OM. I'm going to start with a history of the Martin OM guitar. So I'm going to put myself on the screen, and okay. So this is the research that I've done, and if we've got friends in the chat, feel free to tell me your opinions on this information. Make sure I got my facts correct, especially if people like Skip and Chris Martin are watching. I hope I say the right thing. But this is what I found from my research. In 1926, Martin created the Triple O guitar. Now, in 1929, a banjo player called Perry Bechtel asked Martin Guitar to build a guitar similar to a banjo with 15 frets. So Martin actually made a 14 fret guitar. So before, the guitars had 12 frets, this guitar had 14 frets, and this was the OM guitar. It had a longer scale. And the OMs tend to have a 1 3/4 inch nut. That's not always true. And the Triple O bodies tend to have the narrower nut, but that's not always the case. But the Triple O's do have a shorter scale compared to the OM guitar. So that's how it came into life. And the OM stands for orchestra model because it would replace the banjo and be played in dance orchestras, and the sound would cut through well and be nice and loud in the band. So that is a brief history of the OM guitar. Do you agree with that, Maury?
I do. I'm going to tell you the truth. I've been an OM fan since the mid-'90s. I've been a Martin dealer since 2003, and I'm really not the guy that knows a lot of things going backwards past the modern stuff. I'm really not one of those guys that has his finger on the pulse of how everything started and changed. The only thing I do think I have backwards from what you were saying, I know that not all Triple O's have a 1 3/4 inch nut, but I thought that all the OMs did, so I could be corrected as well.
Well, I'm thinking about guitars like the OM JM or the OM John Mayer model that has the narrower nut. So there are models that do have a narrower nut than that one. It's just not always completely.
You're right.
But it's the Triple O is always short scale, and the OM is always long scale. And what I've found is, I was talking about this with Skip yesterday, the short scale is really favored by blues players because it is easier to bend those strings. The strings are kind of slacker, and you get a sweeter sound, and they're very easy to bend. Well, they're easier to bend. The OM with its long scale, though, gives you a bit more punch, a bit more power. It also means the strings are harder to bend. And a great way to think about it is if you put a capo, I know you love capos, if you put a capo on the first fret of an OM guitar, then that scale is the shorter scale. That's like playing a shorter scale. You've reduced the scale of the guitar. So that's one way to think about it. I'm waiting for one man's guitar to correct me here. Oh, he said, okay, here we go. He says, kind of true. The first Triple O's go back to 1912. 26 maybe first braced entirely for steel strings. Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, the guitars before that time were being made. I guess what I found was that the Triple O in that kind of state was 1926, in that kind of incarnation. And then they changed the style of it to be 14 frets in 29. But it's really the most interesting part of that story, though, is that it was a banjo player that said to Martin, I need a guitar that's more like the banjo scale length, right? More like a banjo. And then they created the 14 fret guitar because they used to have 12 fret guitars before that time. So I think that's really interesting. I didn't know that until I did my homework for today's episode. Also, the Paul Simon OM has a 1 11/16 inch nut as well. And it's my experience that the older Martins, it's only a recent thing where Martin guitars tend to have the 1 3/4 inch nut. I think the current trend is that slightly wider nut. But I think in years gone by, I remember when the HD28 shipped with the 1 and 11/16 inch nut, and they changed it on
Oh
the
yeah.
mod on the Reimagined series. And I'm a fan of that
Yep.
wider nut, as I'll talk about later. Yeah, Spoon's in the chat. Thank you. Spoon has some great articles on Martin guitars. So I actually read one of his in preparation for this. So yeah, feel free, Spoon. I won't be offended if you correct me. I want to get the information right on here. But I love that story. Perry Bechtel, a banjo player, asking Martin to make a guitar similar to a banjo. 15. He said 15 frets. They ended up doing 14 frets, and that then became standard on the guitar. So that one person, his request changed the way the guitars were made. And I want to show them on the screen here. I want to show the viewers the desktop. I'm going to show this website on Martin, where it actually has, this is what the body style was like on the Triple O. This is a Martin Triple O 28K authentic 1921 guitar. Oh, okay, so this is 1921. Okay. So, but the body it looks different. I don't know if you've seen, well, I'm sure you've seen these, Maury. The body is different to the Triple O OM body that we know today. So,
Sure.
And just to clarify, I'm focusing on OM guitars, but the Triple O has the same kind of body shape now. It's just the scale that is different. So that's the thing to remember when you're shopping for a Martin guitar like this kind of smaller body guitar. Remember that the Triple O means a short scale and the OM means a longer scale. And also, it's very interesting yesterday with Skip, because he was saying that the new SC guitar, there's so many letters and numbers to remember with Martin. The new SC guitar kind of has a long scale but a short scale playability. It kind of gone for best of both worlds. So it'll be interesting to see what that's like in person.
Yep.
So that's a brief introduction. That's the history of that. Let's talk about the actual guitars. Let me show you on the screen what they look like right now. I'm going to go to your website and show the OM28. I love these because I love the OM28 is like the gold standard for me. It's in my opinion. It's a great guitar, and I'm sure everyone is very familiar with them. So what I want to do to start with, Maury, I want to discuss the most important thing to a guitar player, possibly the sound and the tone. How would you describe, because your main guitar is an OM. What's the model of your OM guitar?
Well, mine is the OM28VR, which eventually became the OM28V. And basically, it's a 1998, and it's not 1998 version when they had a vintage series. This has a V-neck. Traditionally, this guitar came with a long saddle, and this guitar eventually became phased out quite a few, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and somebody at Martin or Spoon could tell me the exact day probably, but this became phased away because they made the OM28 become almost just like this. So if you look at the OM28V when it was still in production, it was a little bit different from the OM28 at that time, and then over time they just decided to make the OM28 so much like the 28V that really only thing you were giving up in the most modern current production OM28 is the V-neck and the long saddle for all intents and purposes. So I have an OM28 VR technically, but it quickly became known as a 28V, and it's been my main guitar really ever since I've had it since 1998.
John Spiro says, what was the string spacing of the old OM? So there's a question for Spoon Phillips right there. I'm going to let him answer that one. I'll come back to that. So your guitar, yeah, I agree. That's the other thing with the guitars, that the necks have kind of gotten thinner over the years as well. It's interesting. The nut has kind of gotten wider and the necks have gotten thinner. So I can kind of see why they phased that one out. What year is your guitar? It looks like it's been played a lot.
It's 1998, and it's a little bit of a shame because most of the wear and tear that you see on this guitar happened. A lot of it happened in one night at an open mic night.
Wow.
You have people talking about, can I play your guitar? Be careful who you let play your guitar. And I really don't mind at all now. At the time, I was a little bit, what are you doing? And off the air, I'll tell you the conclusion to that story. It's actually somebody I'm friends with. I know who did this. We're still friends. I don't know that he knows how shocked I was, but it's a 1998, and really the pick guard wear, I'm not sure how much you can see. I had quick do this with my iPhone because my computer wasn't working right. A lot of this happened pretty quickly, but this stuff here on the sound hole, uh, it really wasn't. It didn't appear to be a problem to me at the time. But at one gig when I was using a feedback buster, that rubber plug you put in here, I just took it out too quickly, and it pulled a little bit of this lip of the sound hole, and it was hanging there like a loose tooth, like a kid's loose tooth that wants to come out. And I tore it out of there. And some good friends of mine help me argue with this every year. Should I just make the entire thing a large sound hole? Tony Phillips, I believe, is one of those guys that says that. Some people say I should go to Blues Creek Guitars and let John Hall put this back together. And then there's a camp of people that says just leave it the way it is. And the easiest thing to do so far was to leave it the way it is. But that's, it looks terrible to me, but it has to look a little bit worse for me to go and act on it. So that's kind of where we're at with this.
So thanks to Spoon Phillips for the answer in the chat. Very detailed answer to John's question. I've just put it on the screen for everyone. Now, the thing is, how do you feel in the chat about wear and tear on your guitars? Because I feel like if I get one small ding in a brand new guitar, it's kind of ruined and I can't sleep at night. But when the guitar is that worn in, Maury, I feel like it's kind of cool. It's got a lot of stories to tell. So
yeah, I when it's the first one or two that really break your heart. I got this one, which it looks like it's not even anything wrong now. But when this guitar was completely spotless, I was fooling around with an undersaddle pickup, and my pliers they were here at one point, and then they landed there, and it's a little bit funny to think now about what am I gonna do? My guitar's ruined. Look at that, and no, it's not. It's just. It's almost like if you see what you're going to do to this guitar over the next couple of years, this won't bother you at all. But that one bothered me a lot. And by the time this happened, this was already all over the place. And yeah, it certainly is relative. I treat every new guitar, the way you should. But once this got to a certain point, I think I have to agree with it. It's what can you, I let some people play it now and I say, don't scratch it. And they just laugh.
It becomes a gigging guitar. It becomes a workhorse. That's okay. But yeah, I'm actually sure. I don't tend to let people play my guitars for that very reason. You just never know when they're gonna. You just don't know what's gonna happen. And if something happens to a guitar like that, who's responsible? I totally get it. So sound and tone. This is often discussed online. How would you explain this or describe the sound and tone of the Martin OM or Triple O kind of body style?
Well, in short, because that can become a long, that could be the whole hour we spend. I really think that an OM, all the things being equal, if you take an OM, it sounds like it has less bass than a dreadnought guitar built with the same construction. It has more bass than an O or a double O. It's probably a cop-out answer, but it's kind of the in-between, maybe baby bear porridge guitar. It doesn't do what the biggest dreadnoughts will do, and it's not as detailed as an O or a double O, but it kind of meets a lot of the Martin models in the middle where you can do really the short answer of it is I chose because it can do heavy strumming and finger style really, really well. And I can find dreadnoughts that are better strummers, but I couldn't find dreadnoughts that were better finger pickers. And I think it's, I don't know if everybody looks for an all-around guitar because it's very commonplace to say maybe you want 2 or 3 guitars and you cover all your bases so well. But if you do a lot of work on one instrument, I think the OM and not the Triple O, I think the OM is a really great guitar if you want to sort of cover the dreadnought bases and the Triple O bases in one instrument. That's a personal taste thing, but that's kind of I feel like it's a very balanced dreadnought sound with a little bit of the bass missing, which for fingerstyle, especially for bare finger pads, I think that's a good thing, not a detractant.
People say that the OM lacks bass, no, not lacks bass. People say the OM has mid-range, like a strong mid-range, but the reason, my opinion is, the reason it appears to have a strong mid-range is because it has less bass, because the body is smaller. So because the body is smaller and you have less low end, you hear more of the mids and the highs. You hear more of that sound. So that's the way I always feel about it. Now, sometimes excessive bass is a bad thing, like if you're amplifying or something like that. I often, when I use my Dreadnought, cut out a lot of the low end anyway. So why do I need it? So I feel like the Dreadnought is good for acoustically having a lot of low end and boom, when you want that. I think the OM is a great mid focus guitar, and it does cut through. And then people say, well, can you strum it? Oh yeah, I mean, you can strum any guitar, right? But you can strum an OM, it's absolutely fine. You can fingerpick. They're very versatile. Everything about it is versatile. It still has plenty of volume and everything else. And I think, I mean, they are, when you think of Martin guitar, you think of those, you think of the Dreadnought and the OM, don't you? So for me, the OM doesn't have that low end, but sometimes you don't want all that low end. And another reason why it's good to have both of them, Maury, for that reason as well. It's like a natural EQ, isn't it? Okay, with the Dreadnought, you can cut bass. With an OM, you can add bass on the PA. But for recording, that's the thing. Sometimes you want that Dreadnought sound, like that kind of Neil Young sound. And sometimes you want that more Eric Clapton type sound. So it is a good reason to own both of them. But the OM does have... I certainly don't feel that it lacks bass at all. I think it's, like you said, it's very well balanced. That's my opinion. It's great, but it's excellent for lead works, excellent for fingerstyle, and then as a balanced strummer, it's still good as well. What do you guys think in the chat? Please join in and let us know, because I want to take your thoughts as well. This is all just personal opinion, of course. You know, nothing I say here I'm saying is hard fact. It's just from having owned and played several different guitars over the years. So Spoon says he agrees with Maury's take on the OM versus Dread, but I can say it can do everything a Dread can do in terms of what kind of songs. Mayer would agree it is different, but it can handle it. Yeah, I agree. That my take on it is that sometimes a Dread has too much. So that's why I would consider that guitar. And it brings me on to my next point, my next topic, which is playability and comfort. Now, the OM is a slimmer body, so it is a lot more comfortable. And I know for a fact that, I mean, I'm 6'5", so I actually feel like a Dreadnought looks more kind of normal on me. But I know for a fact a lot of people don't find a Dreadnought particularly comfortable to perform with for 3 hours. So the OM guitar certainly is very, very comfortable to play. It's probably lighter, I imagine, because it's a smaller body. It's easier to get your arm around it. So if you're not as tall as me, it's even though I'm tall though, because John Mayer is also my height and he plays an OM a lot as well. So the OM, I would say, is a very comfortable guitar to play. Would you agree, Maury?
I definitely do, and I'm 6'4", so no. You're 6'5". I'm 6'5" with the numbers reversed. I definitely think that, you know, this certainly is a lot less to get around. I just did an hour on YouTube earlier and played a couple of Dreadnoughts, and just in 2 minutes, going from a Dreadnought like a D13 or a D12E, going to this or going to a 0015M. I think even more importantly than the difference here is this difference from top to back, because your arm's got to do this. You're never going to play the guitar going around the perimeter of it. I think you could probably make the argument a guitar with a gigantic lower bout would still be comfortable like an M if it has this 000 depth. And I find I'm kind of in that sweet spot where I can play anything I want to play all day long. And I can play Dreadnoughts. If I take a guitar out to inspect it in the store, someone's gonna, you know, if it's gonna ship that day, I'll do another reinspection. I'll find myself playing it because I really enjoy it, but I wouldn't buy one. I find, maybe because I can play them all the time without committing to one. I've owned an OM all these years. I've owned a 00. I built a 0018 kit. I'm not gonna ever want to do that. So it's not right or wrong for everybody, but for me, I certainly find a big comfort value in the shallow depth of an OM.
Yeah, there's no denying that the OM is more comfortable than the Dread. That's something that is undeniable. And yeah, you could get an even smaller guitar, but then you will start to lose some sound. So that's I think for me that's the biggest plus of that guitar, the playability and comfort factor. You know, it's a very rich sounding guitar for the size of the body, and I think that's why a lot of people gravitate towards it. Like I said, with the sound, I think the only people that gravitate towards the bigger guitars are the players that want that really enhanced bass, the big dreadnought sound, which is fine, but I think that's what I've seen with players choosing the instrument. Let's talk about artist and custom models, because I want to put my story. So I'll tell you the models I've owned of the OM28 over the years. One guitar I owned briefly, which is, I kind of miss it, but I couldn't keep it around. It's the OM28 John Mayer OM guitar. Did you ever see those? I guess, did they release those before you had your store?
I really don't remember the original John Mayer coming through our shop. If they did, it would be it would be at the very back end of when we first started selling guitars. That might be something I saw, and we didn't carry that many of them. But I remember watching one of your earlier interviews with somebody from Martin, and I think you did mention that, and it caught my attention. I'd love to know more about that.
So yeah, I'll tell you the story. I think when I first got into Martin, I heard about those guitars. At the time, I think I had an OM28, a regular one, because someone at the factory told me, oh, it's basically the same thing. And it is, but the top of the John Mayer is an Engelmann. That John Mayer also has the narrow nut. That was his specification because he's an electric player and he likes that narrow nut because that's what he's used to on electric. I don't personally like that. Again, I've got big hands. I'm not used to that. That was one reason why I didn't hang on to it. But the story, is a good story. I just moved to the States. I was looking for one, and someone had one used in England. Now, the thing about these guitars is when they released them, they were like $3,000. They were very affordable compared to what you pay for an OM28. But by the time I got one, they'd gone up used to they were in the $7,000, kind of $7,000 mark. So I found one in England, actually, which was mint condition, never played, but it had a mark, again, it had a ding on the bottom of the guitar, which even in hindsight could easily be removed. It's just like scratches, easily could be removed from the end pin, like they've been scratched with a strap or something. So I remember I sent a friend to check it out. He got it. I'd moved here, so I had to get it over to New York. It was a huge hassle. But the guitar was amazing. But of course, it's that whole thing where the guitar is so valuable. I didn't want to play it. I was scared it might break, humidity. I was so scared of it, and I didn't have that kind of money to have invested in an heirloom kind of guitar. So I sold it on for what I paid for it, and now I see them. People want $12,000 for those guitars now, which I think is crazy. But they only made 404 of them. But I guess my point with that guitar is, well, it sounded great because it was 10 years old, but not really played. So the wood had naturally aged, and the Engelmann was great. So my plan for the future is to, I think you could tell me if I'm wrong, that your customers can order like a custom shop through you. And I think if I ordered one of them custom, it wouldn't be more than, say, $5,000. So it seems silly to me to pay $12,000 for the original one, which isn't the spec I like, when I can just order a custom version of it with the specs that I really want to have. So that's an option for people as well. If you want to do the custom route, maybe you want a certain wood and a certain nut type on your OM. I would recommend people to just get a custom. I know that John Mayer guitar may be worth a lot of money in the future because it's a special edition, it's John Mayer, but for me it wasn't worth it. But I do miss it. It was a great sounding guitar, and I think the age of it really helped as well, and the wood on top really helped as well. It was really nice. And then I had the OM28 Retro, which I think I got from your store. I really like that guitar. And then that one cracked, and I had to have a very expensive repair, and I sold it on to a friend. So I'm currently, I think I've had those two, and I've tried the OM-JM, but I didn't like that nut width. So I don't currently have an OM, but I do think they're great guitars. I think we all kind of change our minds. Right now I have the HD28. I like that guitar. It's a classic sound. But you're absolutely right. When you're recording, it's nice to have different guitars for different jobs. And I do think the OM28 is a great guitar, and I will have one again one day. But artist models, interesting. So that's the John Mayer one, which I'd tell you the reason I wish I still had it is because I know if I made videos with it, I'd get loads of views because everyone is looking for John Mayer all the time. And if I still had that guitar, it would be really cool. I'm just going to go to the chat. Hang on. Becca says, I've only ever played dreads, so it feels funny to play a smaller body guitar. Now, I agree with that. If you only ever play a dreadnought and you play an OM, it can appear to not be as loud and boomy, and it might come across as a bad thing because you're comparing it. But I think again, you've got to realize that it's for a different sound, and that's why it's good to have both. But I hear that a lot. A lot of Dread players that only play Dreadnoughts can find it hard to appreciate the OM because they see it as a step down. But again, it's just personal preference.
Sure.
Spoon says first mayor was 2003. I think I played one at Maury's second shop location. Yeah, they only made 404, and he's got 3 of them. There can't be many left in the world. I mean, some of them probably got destroyed, I imagine. So, yeah, but the Engelman is really cool. Engelman top is a nice thing. Yeah, and he says you cannot get the guitar with Mayer's signature and probably not the special logo. I know, but I wouldn't want it anyway. I don't want that. I'd rather have my initials on it. You know, so that was. I just wanted to visit that point today, where if there is a certain style of guitar you want, don't forget that you can just order a custom shop to your own specifications. It's a bit risky because you don't get to play it before you buy it, kind of thing. But at least you can have everything that you want. It's kind of a cool concept. It's like a one-off for you. So I think that's a cool concept. And he also says he agrees with Becca. The ears hear what isn't there before they start to hear what is there. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's true. If you're used to a Dreadnought and someone gives you a smaller guitar, it's very tempting to just say, "Oh, it doesn't sound like my Dreadnought. I like my Dreadnought." But you have to definitely think about what that sound is for and get used to it. So what other artist models have there been? Well, there's been a lot. Did you know there's been the Paul Simon model is pretty well known. There's Paul Simon model of the OM. He plays OM guitars. And I guess he plays a lot of fingerstyle, and I don't think he's 6'5", right? So that would make sense. Clapton plays a triple O because he plays the blues stuff. Obviously, it works great for the blues stuff because it really cuts through. The triple O scale length makes it easy to bend on and play on that guitar. The blues players really like the triple O. But interesting enough, John Mayer wanted an OM, but with the narrow nut. So slightly different approach there. And Jeff Daniels has an OM artist model as well. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Jeff Daniels OM. And I'm sure that Spoon will tell us some more as well. I tried to find all the ones that I could, all the custom OMs that there have been. There was a Mark Knopfler, but in that old body style that I showed earlier on. That was kind of cool. And Spoon says he's had 3 customs via Maury's Music, and it's worth the wait. I think that's the problem with the custom. You have to wait 6 months, probably now obviously longer, but 6 months or 9 months for a guitar, and then when you get it, that's your guitar, right? You don't get to say I don't want it. So for better or worse, that is your guitar. Saeed says the Martin 0018 Authentic is incredible. Yeah, let's talk about tone woods, because I'm talking about the OM28, which is typically a Sitka spruce top and East Indian rosewood back and sides. That's what yours is, right?
Yep.
That's the classic. Sir. That's the classic. But the 18, obviously, the 18 series is mahogany back and sides. So here's a question. These are the kind of questions that people talk about for hours on forums. How do you describe the tonal difference between a rosewood back and side OM28 and a mahogany back and sides OM18? I'll give that to you.
I just did this all day at work, but I'll do it one more time. No, I'm kidding. And that's what's cool. That's the stuff you want to talk about all day if you have to talk about something. What I hear, and I want to go back real quickly and circle back to Becca's comment. Becca needs a dreadnought because her voice is huge.
Yeah, I agree.
And if Becca would sing with a 00 or an OM, you'd never hear the guitar. So that's that. But I think mahogany to me sounds very fundamental. It's not bass heavy. It's a lot of mid range and it's a lot of fundamental. You play a note on a mahogany guitar, you hear the note, a fast attack, and it kind of just goes away. In comparison, what I hear, rosewood sounds bassier. It's a little more complex and a little bit more natural reverb. So if you play the same exact thing that you just played on a mahogany back and sides, a guitar built with rosewood back and sides, the fundamental note happens, but with it happens more overtones. It's a little bit more of a complex sound. and it has a little bit of reverb in the decay. So it almost sounds like, to me, if you would be finger picking something that's just so staccato, and when one note's done, the next note starts. You don't want to hear the first note anymore. Mahogany is really good for that. And if you want to play something where the first note happens, the second note starts, but you still want the first note to be there. The third note starts and everything cascades. I hear rosewood is very complicated in a nice way. It almost sounds like a lot of things meshing together, where mahogany sounds very note, 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 and mahogany is very plain, and I don't mean that in a negative way.
Mm. No. I'm going to ask Spoon to type how he would explain the difference between rosewood and mahogany, because I find it a hard question to answer. For me personally, I think I find the rosewood a bit more, I can't think of the word, but powerful, a bit more attack. The mahogany is a bit more simple. I can't think of the right words, but I like rosewood myself. And I think my suggestion is that people try both. One thing about mahogany, though, is that it's lighter. It's a lighter wood. So if you're looking for a super light guitar for stage, an OM18 is going to be light because it's small. It's going to be really light with that body size and those woods. So that could be something to consider. I think the mahogany guitars are usually much lighter.
One problem with that, Aaron, they don't currently make an OM18.
Oh, why is that?
Where do you see what Spoon types about that? That seems like this gigantic hole in the Martin lineup. And occasionally we get a custom OM18 in our shop, whether it's a natural top or amber tone. We find it important enough to order a few every time. We put some custom orders in. You mentioned that a few minutes ago. If somebody wants to buy a custom through us, we'll help them design what they want. We'll put our 2 cents in where it's asked for, and if they don't want our opinion, we won't get in the way. But when we get a few guitars ready to bring to Martin to be built, we'll also order a few for our own inventory. So that's one of the guitars we stock. And you would think an OM18, I just caught you saying it, and we can go back to the tape, but for some reason they just don't offer it.
Well, I tell you what, I just had a genius idea. Since those John Mayer guitars are going for such high dollars, maybe you should do a run of John Mayer style OM guitars. And if you do, I might buy one. So let's talk about that later.
Let's do that.
No, I'm serious though, because if they're so revered and so sought after, I know because of the collector's thing, but I'm sure players also just want to own one of his spec. And I feel like a custom shop can be better because it's made by the custom shop, and you could even do things like say I want higher grade woods. Like I really like the nice cosmetic, plain looking woods with the nice grain. You could have that specifically, so that could be really cool. I'm just getting excited because we're talking about guitars. What I see in the current, you know more about this than me, but what I see in the current lineup is the OM28, complete classic. Can't go wrong with that guitar. The OMJM, which by the way is now quite expensive. The price has really gone up on those guitars. And that's not even a 28 kind of grade wood and everything. That's a grade one. So again, a reason to order your own custom. And is the OM21 around right now, or is that a special order?
Yes, sir.
That is around. Oh, I've owned one of those. I completely forgot about it. I had an OM21C, interesting guitar. But again, I like the 28 look more than the 21. The 21, some people like it because it's plain and it's plainer, and some people say that they're thinner tops and they sound better. But I just don't think you can beat the OM28. I think the OME Cherry is around right now. The OMC 15 and 16. Is the OM35 around? I'm not sure. And also of course the Modern Deluxe OM28 is around.
The 35 is gone, but the Modern Deluxe is alive and well. Yeah.
Okay, so
that's a great guitar.
So you're really looking at right now the OM28 or the OM28 Modern Deluxe if you want something a bit more special, right?
Or the 42.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I completely forgot. OM42, OM45?
Not in current production.
Wow.
There's some limited editions that might still be laying around, but as far as what Martin makes consistently right now, the 42 will be the top.
So I tried an OM42 years ago before they did the Reimagined series. Really, really great guitar. But again, the neck was very different to the new necks, which you might prefer, you might not. And also the nut and everything. So those Reimagined series, they really made a lot of changes, which I personally, I think they did everything just right. But some people might not like that configuration. But I think you cannot go wrong with the Martin Reimagined series. I think it's really, really great. They did great things with that. Okay, so yeah, I stand corrected. There's actually not as many models as I thought there were in current production. I wonder why that is. I'm very surprised by the mahogany thing. Is there a 0018?
Well, there's a 0018.
That's
a scallop brace guitar.
So that's what it is. There's a 0018. Yeah, I think that's more common than the OM18. That's what I was thinking of, the 0018. So you can get the mahogany in the 0018, but then you're going to have the shorter scale. If you want the longer scale, you want to get the OM28. Okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. That's fine. So let me just go to the chat here. I missed some comments. Becca said thank you for your kind comments, and Spoon said there's a Richie Sambora OMC. That's interesting.
Wow.
There's been some really interesting artist models of Martin guitars, and unfortunately they don't make many of them. That's frustrating. They sometimes just make a couple of hundred of these things. They're often very interesting guitars, and I sometimes go looking for them. Of course, you cannot find them, and you have to do that custom shop order. Rosewood is the lush rainforest, moist, full, almost smoky air. Mahogany is the drier, open savanna, clear and sunny. God, I couldn't have written that better myself, Spoon. I'm going to read it again. That's such a great statement. Rosewood is the lush rainforest, moist, full, almost smoky air. Mahogany is the drier, open savanna, clear and sunny. That's a great description. Wow. I still say just go and try them. Try them both yourself before you make a commitment. But I guess we have to hear something. I will say on your YouTube channel, Spoon does demos of all these guitars, and so do you. So a great idea is to go on your YouTube channel and watch the demos. And I really love the fact that Spoon plays the same thing. This is what I do on my pickup demos. I play the same thing on my demos. And that's because I want people to be able to compare them directly. So I've done that where I've lined up one of Spoon's videos at a certain point and another video at a certain point and played them back to back to really hear the difference. And it works. It's a good idea. It works well. So I think that if you can't try them, listen to them in that way. But do remember that the mahogany is lighter. I think that's an important thing to remember myself. So the recent OM18 and OMC18 were the first ones made since the 30s in the standard catalog. The OM18V was awesome. The OM18GE, the golden era, first with an attempt to replicate a true vintage neck. I mean, that's a whole new conversation, neck shape, isn't it? So the new guitars have much thinner necks. Your guitar has a V-neck. How do you feel when you play a reimagined OM now? How do you feel about the neck shape on those things?
Well, I'm not really one of those guys that has to have one certain kind of neck. If I'm really being honest with you, over the years I got so used to the V-neck that I'm okay with it. But if I had to choose right now, again, what I put on a custom, I don't think I would put the V-neck. I think maybe it's age, and just I think the more modern Martin guitars, those necks are more comfortable to me than this one. I'm doing okay with it, but when I play another guitar in the store, I do like other necks more than the V-neck. I love the modern deluxe neck. I just had a couple of conversations today with customers where it's mimicking an OM45 deluxe from the museum. That's got a skinnier. I'm terrible at talking about what a neck feels like, but the modern deluxe neck, the shoulders are skinnier. The neck itself is smaller and thinner than any other Martin guitar. And the middle of the neck isn't symmetrical. It's asymmetrical. The way the center of the neck happens from fret 1 to fret 14. It doesn't go down a line. It does one of these things. I forget which way it turns, but I've been okay with the V-neck over the years, but I think it's because I had to. And before I get off that train of thought, I do want to say that our website and our YouTube channel, the popularity we enjoy there have so much to do with Spoon Phillips. He does a great job. It's no mistake that we're seeing such popularity as a Martin guitar dealer because of the good work Spoon does with us. So thank you, Spoon, if you're still watching. That's my neck.
He is a wealth of information, and I'm glad he's here on our chat today because he's really helpful. The V-neck, I think we should just talk about the V-neck thing for a bit because it's very polarizing. Okay, here's a question for the chat. Does the thicker V-neck make the tone better? Does it affect the tone of the guitar?
Shots fired.
The thing with the V-neck is, I should mention the Clapton model has that V-neck, I've noticed. Some people like it, some people don't. Is it to do with the size of your hands? Is it to do with tone? Is it to do with the way you play? Should necks get thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner? Can a neck be too thin? This is a whole video we could talk about right here. But it's certainly something to think about. And if you're looking at that 28 Modern Deluxe, I know the neck on that is different to the other Modern Deluxe guitars. So that's worth bearing in mind as well if you're going to go that route. Thomas Moore said you should get Spoon on it. I half thought about asking Spoon to actually join us on the chat, but he's in the chat room and he's helping out in the chat room, so I appreciate that. Maybe in the future I might invite him on here as well. But then I won't get a word in edgeways, so I'll just have him give all the information. I'm just going to bring his comments up on the chat. He says, a Modern Deluxe neck has a shallower barrel and even more shallow in the upper frets than that of the old OM due to the modern heel. Yeah, I think it's got more meat to it, hasn't it? The OM Modern Deluxe neck has more meat to it than the 18 Modern Deluxe. It's a bit of a fatter neck than those ones. It's certainly different, isn't it? They went a different route with the OM to the other guitars on the Modern Deluxe series. I
think the spacing of the OM neck changes from neck or from nut to saddle. I don't know if the actual carve changes, but I think how wide it is at the nut going to the string spacing at the bridge, I think that might be the difference, but I'm going to get caught. Spoon will tell me if I'm wrong. He says, Steve Swan says, big neck equals big sand, but the 1930 OMs have some seriously shallow necks like the OM45 Deluxe in the museum. They sound fantastic. I'd love to play that guitar. I don't know. I guess I feel like it may improve the sound. I feel like it should do, but if you find it hard to play, then you're probably better off not having it. That's my opinion. So that's why I just don't think you can go wrong with the OM28. I don't think like that neck on those guitars is so nice. I can't imagine anyone, unless you specifically want a V-neck, in which case you'd probably go for a custom shop. I can't imagine anyone not liking the standard OM. I just think that's such a great guitar, that standard OM28. I feel the same way.
Thomas Moore says a thicker neck possibly improves tone, but not necessarily the V. I think the V is more of a vintage thing, isn't it? I wonder why they used to do that. I wonder why guitar necks were made that way initially, and now the trends have gone thinner. And I also wonder if the necks will ever get thicker again, if trends will change. I don't know. I don't think they will. I think that the thinner necks are easier to play, just by definition. The OM28 Modern Deluxe is old OM width at the 12th fret. So it gets wider up there. Yes, I didn't like that. On the OM42 that I tried, I didn't like how wide it got up the neck. It got really wide up the neck, and it had that V as well. So I found that hard to play, and I've got big hands. But again, personal opinion, and that's what I'm offering here, just my personal opinion. The others are high performance taper, so same neck shape as wider in the upper frets. Yeah, I really like the high performance neck on the standard reimagined series. For me, that neck is just unbeatable. I just love it. I just think it's the perfect compromise. It's easy to play. It's comfortable. I love the fact that on those guitars they do the plec, and the finish is really nice. And the standard OM28, of course, remember, has a non-gloss neck. And the 42 has a gloss neck. That's something else to bear in mind. Some people like gloss, some people don't. When I tried that guitar, I think I was kind of indifferent about it. It looks nice, it feels classy, but it didn't really affect the way I played. But in my mind, it did. In my mind, I wanted a satin neck. So, different options. But these are things to be aware of. When you order a guitar, when you buy a guitar from you, Maury, I think some people don't think of these things. Like the 42 looks nice, but remember that it's got the gloss neck. Do you want that? So there's things that you should definitely factor into your decision. The 42 series. So we were saying yesterday with Skip that the number used to reflect the price. So in the old days, the 42 was $42, which obviously isn't the case anymore. But it also reflects the bling, as they say, how much inlay it has, right? So your guitar is a 28 series. It has the herringbone, and the inlay work is, well, there is none, right? There's no. What's the neck like on your guitar? Can you just show me the neck? I'm gonna have to zoom out.
It's not a bound neck. No, it's a herringbone trim. It's got some ivoroid binding on the, not on the neck though, just on the body.
Yeah, because the 42 and the 45 get very fancy. I know.
Yep.
Yours has a long. Yours has is that a glued-in saddle? You have a glued-in saddle?
Actually, no, I did. If you care to know a little more about it, back in 1998, and I'll start this story, but if we get on a pickup tangent, it's entirely your fault.
I always do, though. I have to. That's what my channel's about. I have to talk about pickups.
Get comfortable. In 98, this guitar had a long saddle the way it was built as a 28 VR. And I originally was using a Fishman Rare Earth Blend was the first pickup I had for this. And I liked it, didn't love it. And I was a tweaker like you are. And I thought,
hey, it's okay, but be careful what you say about me.
I can't see it with my phone. I'm just talking about you happiness. But if I saw your facial expressions, I would probably change. But I had a Rare Earth Blend, and I ran that through a parametric equalizer, and I got pretty fussy about it. Didn't like that enough to keep it, so I went and Tim Teal from Martin, who I really do hope you get on this channel. Skip mentioned him yesterday.
Yeah, I never met him. I've never met him. I've met Fred Green at NAMM a few times. He's really cool. I never met Tim Teal, but now I've heard the name and I've been told that he's into the pickups and the electronics. I really want to interview him now. That'd be cool.
Tim Teal is the man, but I was introduced to him through a friend of mine who works at Martin, Angelo Meal, and we asked him, what do I have to do to get a pickup in the guitar instead of a sound hole pickup? He said, you got to talk to Tim Teal. I said, it was Tim Teal. This is back in 1998, 99. So Tim, and I remember this so vividly because as I was thinking about being on your guest on your show today, I wondered if you would ask me how I would say it, and it's so fresh in my mind like it was yesterday. I brought it to Tim and I said, I like the sound hole pickup, but I don't really want to keep it. Can you put a different pickup in my guitar? And he said, yeah, we could do a Fishman, Gold Plus Matrix, like you were talking with Larry. And I said, okay. And he said, you like the sound of the undersaddle pickups? And this is 1998, 99, so many years before I owned a store, long before I, got a taste of anything else. I said to him, doesn't everybody? And he looked at me, and I don't remember exactly how he replied to me, but he thought it was sort of strange that I would say, doesn't everybody like the sound of an undersaddle pickup? And of course, fast forward now, sometimes nobody does. But he put a Fishman acoustic matrix under there for me, and to do that, he replaced the entire bridge. I still have it in my case at the store. The big bridge off the guitar, replaced by this belly bridge with the drop-in saddle, and that enabled me to put a Fishman undersaddle Gold Plus, which is the Martin branded Fishman Matrix. And after that, if I remember to really rattle these off, I went from that to the LR Baggs Element, then to the LR Baggs I-beam on the bridge plate, then back under the saddle with the D-Tar Wavelength, then the K&K Fantastic, which is their passive version of basically the Fishman 332. Then I left the Fantastic in there and did the Trinity something. It was the K&K Pure Mini plus a mic plus the undersaddle, and I didn't think that was enough, which is pretty funny now. And then that whole thing came out, and I tried the LR Baggs M1, the LR Baggs M1 Active sound hole pickup, back to probably the Wavelength again under the saddle, eventually to the K&K glued to the bridge plate, which was my second favorite going back through all of them. And only after that, when I discovered the Trance Audio Amulet M, shout out to Gary and Laurel, that's what's on my bridge plate now. But that's the long answer about the saddle. This whole thing came off and was replaced so I could start my long experimentation with pickups.
I knew there's a reason why we get on so well, because we both have the same sickness of trying every pickup there has been made. I've tried all those pickups you mentioned. I've tried them all. So yeah,
Wow.
And
Boy.
more, of course. Maury's OM28 VR has the short pattern diamonds and squares on the earlier OMs. The reimagined OM28 has a long pattern like a 1933 OM28. Wow. Hey, I tell you what, that Spoon Phillips knows his stuff. And Thomas Moore says they still put the Fishman Matrix in the John Mayer model. Yeah, the John Mayer model ships with the Fishman Gold Plus because that's what he uses on stage still, which I find hard to get my head around because he's so fussy about his electric tone. Having said that, I think we've come full circle because now, we've got the bags. LR Bags Soundscape is out soon. There's the Tone Dexter and my friend James May. There's obviously the Fishman Aura pedal. It's interesting because you can make those under saddles sound really good now with pedals. If you're okay with if you're okay with carrying a pedal around, you can actually get phenomenal sound. I had that the passive K&K pickup. I had that through a Tone Dexter. That was really good sound because it was passive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was passive. There was nothing in the guitar. It was very strong output. Again, nothing in the guitar. The wire was even like tight. It couldn't rattle at all, and it had a very bright, attackive sound. So through the Tone Dexter, it had a really good. It really complemented that well and worked really well because there was nothing in the guitar, just that like strong, and it's like a strong, firm kind of material, isn't it? So that was that actually worked really well. That is a good option. Yeah. I do. For people that don't want body sound and want to just have something very simple in the guitar and don't mind carrying a pedal, that Fantastic is a good option. And you're a Fishman. No, sorry, you're a K&K dealer, right?
Absolutely. And actually, you made a good point. With the pedal, the undersaddle pickup can sound really good. And you might agree with me when I say this, I've actually heard undersaddle pickup sound great with nothing at all when someone else is playing it. If you play, an undersaddle pickup and you're not overly killing it with your attack, when you're not doing this. Yeah. I've seen at open mics and at gigs we've done where we let somebody play with us, with the band. I've heard really great sounding guitars, and we've asked them, after they're gone, what did you play, or after they're done their song, and it's just, Casey Kennedy's a good friend of mine with a Blue Ridge and an undersaddle pickup, and that's it, and it sounds awesome. But if I play it, it gets quacky. So it depends on your technique, your pick, how much. If you can work it, you can massage what you're doing. Somebody who knows how to play can really make an undersaddle pickup sound good with nothing, I think.
I did one gig where the sound engineer made a Matrix sound amazing. I guess he had the EQ all set up for an undersaddle pickup. It was like in the songwriter's venue. So he's a professional sound engineer. Sounds amazing. Spoon says that John Mayer has the staff, the sound engineer, to make with the off-board EQ to make that pickup sound good. But even when I see him live at Madison Square Garden, I went with a guitar player friend of mine. As soon as he comes out and plays his acoustic, we both turn to each other and we go, "Paizo." It's like a running joke. Now, look, again, this is my opinion. I love Fishman. The Matrix is a great source of information, but for me, it's a bit like we were talking about when you get used to something earlier. When you get used to the sound of the mic or the other pickups, you're gonna look for that sound. So I would use a Matrix. I really like the Matrix because I don't think it messes up your guitar. It's great in there. It's active. You could use it in a pinch to get through a gig. But if you plug that into the Aura pedal or the Tone Dexter, then you can get incredible tone. You really can. And I still think that IRs and stuff is the future, but I want it inside the guitar. And that reminds me, I missed a model which I briefly mentioned, the OM28 Retro, which was an amazing guitar because that was actually like the current reimagined OM28 before they did the reimagined OM28. So that guitar, when it came out, was, in my opinion, better than the standards they had at the time. And it had the F1 Plus system with the vintage guitar images in it. So that was an incredible guitar. And then they got rid of it and replaced it with the reimagined series, which shipped with either the Enhance or the Anthem, which are also great systems. But that was, we just went off on pickups for 10 minutes, didn't we? Spoon says K&K is easy to use. I like the Aura sound, but can't get that without buying a guitar that comes with it. They all sound like electric guitars to me. Well, I think the Aura pedal sounds good, and I think that new Modern Deluxe pickup the blend sounds incredible. But the problem I have is you don't get the body sound. With the K&K, you get incredible body sound, but then the problem with that is you've got to watch out for feedback. The Tone Dexter really helps with that, and Spoon should check out the Tone Dexter. I'm trying to get James May from Tone Dexter on here. I want to do a live demo of the Tone Dexter on the channel. I want to actually have him here and train my guitar like live. That was my plan to do, but he hasn't been able to make it yet. But I want him to. And there's other people now doing the IR stuff too, and I do think it's a cool thing. I think Spoon would like it. He should check it out.
Sure.
But he just said, and I agree, people have come to accept the sound of that. And when you walk down Nashville Broadway High Street, all you hear is that undersaddle pickup sound. And to be fair, it works. It doesn't feed back. It cuts through the mix. It does the job. It's great. I totally get it. But of course, I talk about pickups on my channel, and I'm so excited to see what will come next all the time. And I know sometimes I'm unfair and unrealistic with my demands about pickups and stuff. But as you know, Maury, you've tried them all. I know you're happy with what you have now, and I am too. Yeah. I am too. But I just think there's so much more that could be explored, and I'm looking forward to see what comes next, especially seeing that Modern Deluxe with the Aura blend, which is using Aura HD technology. That sounds really good. So I think if they can continue to develop that, that could be the next step for me. So I'm looking forward to see what happens next, like in 2021. That'd be really interesting.
I think what you should do, and I'll say this on the air so we can get some comments about it. You should really consider a custom. Do your John Mayer with if you're doing mahogany, do the nut width you want, and you should get some kind of Martin guitar with both the F1 Aura in it and the Aura HD and the Anthem. You've gone almost an hour not talking about Anthem. I can't believe it. And a 3-way selector set. And here's the thing: you play a Strat. Do you ever stay on one pickup for one whole gig? You play a Les Paul. Do you never go from neck to bridge?
Hold up there. You see, this is the reason that I got into I know we're completely off the topic now, but it's fine. We're all guitar geeks in here, so it's fine. The reason I got into pickups is this reason. I had played Maton guitars and guitars that sounded incredible plugged in. I then found Martin guitars, and I didn't have a pickup that was like that pickup. And I'd also tried the Anthem at that time as well, and I loved that sound. I wanted the tone of the stage guitar with the unplugged tone of the Martin guitar. This was my problem, because I came to realize you can't have your cake and eat it, as we say, right? So what happened was I went down that rabbit hole. Now, the one thing that stuck out along the way was the F1 system in the retro, because the retro guitars were great guitars with the controls. But then what happened was I decided, well, it doesn't have any bodies. That's what tripped me up. I wanted the body sound from the guitar. Yeah. And that you'll only get with a K&K, a Trance, or an Anthem. And even then, you don't get that much, but it's there. And I wanted that. And I also didn't want any holes in the guitar, but I wanted it to sound great. I didn't want to carry any pedals, but I wanted it to sound great. I basically wanted a unicorn. And we joke about this. I wanted a unicorn. I wanted a Martin guitar that sounds like a vintage Martin guitar with nothing in it that sounded like a Maton or a Cole Clark. And that is just absolutely, at the moment, impossible, I feel. Because even though I do love the Anthem sound, I do believe it affects the tone of the guitar unplugged. And Larry Fishman agreed with me. The thing is, though, he said those undersaddle pickups like the Anthem, like the Element, it enhances the bass. So that's a good thing. But it also removes the high end of your guitar acoustically because it's soft. That's a bad thing. Yeah. So again, you can't have it both ways. So Thomas Moore just said, just play your Acoustasonic. Now that is kind of where I've been going lately. I feel like since you can't have your cake and eat it, you should just have two cakes. You should have a guitar that you play unplugged, and you should have a guitar you play like the new SC13. If they made a 28 of that with a new pickup, I could have that for stage, very small, easy to play, amazing cutaway, and I could have the HD28 with nothing in it, and glue the saddle in, and just get all the tone that I can for recording. I think that is a good way to go. But I'm the kind of player that kind of gravitates towards one instrument, and if I did go that route, I'd probably just end up playing the one that plugged in anyway, because I often plug in at home. So in a nutshell, that's a summary of the last 5 years for me. That's how I got on to make this channel. I went down
Yeah.
that rabbit hole, and that's why I had these people on. I talked to them. That's what I've been looking for, and I think I'm interested the way they're going with the Acoustasonic and the SC13. They're kind of making stage guitars. Maybe that's the way to do it. Make a stage guitar for stage, and acoustic like those new authentic guitars are incredible. They're pretty pricey, but they're amazing, right? When you strum them, they're just tone machines.
Yeah.
So you don't want to go and gig that thing. Get that thing, play it at home, and then get one that you play plugged in. I think that's an option. I'm not saying that's. I change my mind every day, but that is a way you could do it. You could do
Yeah.
that. You
But see,
could
I think
buy
if you
two.
did that, excuse me, you're going to play that HD28 with the glued-in saddle long enough that you're not going to want to not take that to a gig. And I won't say what you want to do, but if you're anything like me, you're soon going to think, oh, I don't want to leave this here and go put something else in my car. And I admit everyone's going to be different, and maybe like you said, you change your mind every day or so. You can't play a really beautiful sounding HD28 all day at home and then go to a gig without it and not miss it after time. I don't think. That's me.
Spoon says they're all unsatisfying enough that I now go with ease and use a mic when possible. Yeah, I mean a mic always sounds absolutely incredible, but I like to do a lot of looping and play through effects. And yeah, I've got like the Helix, the Line 6 Helix, and I like to do. That's the thing. I often plug in anyway. So yeah, I'm still on the journey, but again, that's why I have the channel. I'm always trying new things. There's always new things coming out. I haven't been uninstalling and reinstalling pickups like I used to because it gets kind of expensive and wasteful. As you know. And also you can scratch your guitar. I have a story about dinging my guitar because I was testing the MIDI system for Fishman. I made a video review, and I stupidly stuck the metal bracket to the guitar. And of course, it left a mark on the guitar. What I should have done, as a friend of mine told me in the group, was to use Velcro. If you use the 3M Velcro, you can stick anything to your guitar and just pull it off. So now I have an indentation on my guitar where that thing was.
Yeah.
And it kills me. It kills me. But I'm thinking, well, then I'll just use that guitar for demoing pickups and things on the channel. So it's fine, and it still sounds great. But yeah, that could be a whole video there. Your first ding. Let's talk about your first ding on your gorgeous guitar. So yeah, we've gone off track, but let's just rein it in. Let's just summarize that little conversation with what are the current offerings of electronics from Martin Guitar in a OM guitar? What can you get from the factory right now?
Well, definitely the R HD is in the OM28 Modern Deluxe. Really, there's some that catches me off guard a little bit because Martin's famous for maybe not changing the system, but changing the system name. And then we find out from customers, not from Martin, and it's certainly not on purpose. But there's some moving parts where I know right now you can get an OMC, the 16. There's a 16 series that comes with one of the Fishmans. You can get the OMC, the 15 ME comes with a Fishman. It's probably the Sonotone or the MXT.
Yeah.
I'd have to look that up, but I know that they offer at least a couple of non-Aura undersaddle pickups with a tuner. That's going to be the MX or the MXT, and that spans the going from the Road series up. You can get an OM in the Road series, or I think you can get an OM in the Road series. Is that a triple O? You might have to go into the 15s to get electronics, and that's
I think it's the MXT, which is the undersaddle with the cool tuner in it. I like that, the MXT thing. The Matrix Enhance, the Aura Enhance, or the Bags Anthem. I think that's well, it was as of recently anyway. And then the other option is to get one without a system and have you install a K&K or a Trans Audio pickup, right?
For sure. Absolutely. We do that a lot. Yeah, we really do.
Yeah, that's the other option. Or just get one without a pickup and then, wait a few months, see how you feel, and then either send it to you for a pickup install or look for something else or watch my channel and pick one from my reviews or something like that. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Different options.
I recommend that.
Yeah, just different options. So, that's a lot of talking. I want you to play something for us. I want to hear that guitar. Can you? I'm going to ask you a favor. Can you just play that thing that I wanted to ask you this last time? The thing you play in your demos. That's kind of famous now around the forums. Everyone,
You want to hear
everyone,
that again? There was
everyone plays that. Can you just play that first?
It's funny. We every once in a while I'll make the mistake of looking at YouTube comments on my videos, and it's just like, Troll City, and somebody just said, I forget how they worded it. Stop playing that song. Pick something else.
No, I want to hear
And
it. I'm gonna make you do it.
If that guy thinks he's sick of it, how do you think I feel? But again, it's to show somebody who found a video from 2 years ago and you want to compare it to this video today. But I should do this at an open mic sometime. That's that.
No, I'm waiting for the next part. Hang on, I'm going to give you a virtual round of applause. 1 second. There we go. So I need to know, how did you come up with that? That's your composition, right?
I guess it is. It was just the very first day that I quickly recognized I'm going to do some videos, and I'm going to do a bunch of videos in this next week. I should think of something, and I thought, what's going to show off the treble strings, the mid range of the guitar, the bass, and I thought, well, if I want to keep all the chords down by the nut, and I want to get the treble strings, and I want to get as much of the full range of the acoustic guitar that you can get with a few chords that I can remember, in case I do 4 videos this weekend and it takes me another week to get back into the studio. I didn't spend more than a few minutes figuring it out. And if you go back to my earliest videos, I think I played that a lot slower or a lot faster. And it's, not a lot of thought went into it, except that I didn't want to only show bass or only show treble. I wanted to show a full range of what somebody would play fingerstyle with a pick.
Makes sense.
As you and I joked off camera, we had a hard time getting online today because my computer connection at the store was a little bit choppy. I have the microphone set up perfectly. All my picks are there. I've got a real good Charm Life pick. That's really how that became that. And I probably should come up with one more that's like that does the same thing. But I'm really afraid if somebody finds a video I did back in January, and like you're doing with Spoon Stuff, if you pull that up in one browser, open another window of something I recorded today, I want you to be able to go back and forth. Yeah. I don't care how sick of it is of it. It just seems like it's a tool to me. So
I think it's important. We should just explain. This was supposed to be done from Maury's store, so he could show you the models he has in stock and play them over his microphone. So if you watch the next episode of this series, which will probably be about the Dreadnought guitar, then we'll try and do that. So just bear that in mind. We had to change of plans, so you can't hear the guitar. You're hearing the guitar today through the iPhone microphone. So next time we'll have the real mics. So please bear with us.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. It still sounds good. It's just obviously you can't beat having a real mic on an acoustic guitar.
Well, true.
What did we say here? Thomas Moore said they should offer a K&K and would have a lot of happy customers. Well, I agree. I think I know why they don't, because the K&K can kind of go off unless you know what you're doing, if you're not careful. I think the Matrix is more plug and play. I think that's why they do it, in my opinion. Matrix VT Enhance is 15 and 16 series, or a VT Enhance is standard. I like the VT Enhance. I just wish you could tweak it more. I want them to put an app on the phone where you can dial it in yourself. That's what I'm hoping for. As you've heard on my channel,
you're picky.
I'm fussy. Yeah, but you know what? Chris Martin said the same thing when I asked him about pickups. He goes, "I think we need apps." I'm like, "There you go, Chris Martin. If he can say it, why can't I say it, right?"
You can't argue with that. You got to get Tim Teal on this. You'll get pretty far with that. Yeah.
Can you imagine me and Tim Teal? Well, that could get interesting. Which pickups do you like today, Spoon? I'm thinking of getting rid of my B band under saddle and going K and K. Okay, let's ask Spoon Phillips what he's using. Well, he said he likes to use a microphone when possible, which I totally agree with. It's just where I play, I couldn't do that, and also I use the loopers and things, so I can't do that. But I'll ask him. He said the sound was digitized and wavering. That was your playing, by the way, but can still hear that rich full bottom end.
Oh man!
I think that was a compliment. That was a compliment. And
well,
Eric said that's a Maury classic, and we expect it. Yeah, I totally get it.
I would have put more thought into that if I thought I'd be playing it for 10 years.
Well, I messed up because on my pickup reviews, I just played G, E minor, C, D and just strummed it. I didn't even finger pick it on them. So I did something really boring, and now I feel like I got to do that all the time because otherwise you can't compare them. I wish I put more thought into mine. I put less thought into mine. Thomas Moore says he has a bit more clout. More clout with what? I'm lost. But yeah, that's the thing. Do you buy one with the factory installed? Here's my thought on factory installed electronics. The battery compartment is really cool, but the battery compartment is there. And I've done it before. You can reuse those battery compartments. You can just reconnect a new pickup to them. So that's cool. It is a good thing to have. But I don't know why you would order a Martin with a Bags Anthem. Because the battery lasts like me a year, anyway. If the battery lasts me a year, I don't really need the battery compartment. I don't need that hole in my guitar. So I would get one without the Anthem and have you install it more. Have you install it if you do that, or a different system, and just have the battery in there. I don't think it's necessary. With the Aura type guitars, I do think it's necessary because the battery life is less because of the Aura technology. And the Fishman battery compartment is cool because you can put the battery in either way around and it works. So that's cool, really cool. If you want to go Aura, if you want to go Fishman from the factory, that makes sense. But with the Bags Anthem, the only reason I have it in my colorway HDC is because the colorway has to have a pickup. You can't buy an HDC without a battery compartment. So that's why I have one, and they don't make those. Have you still got that HDC on your store? You had one a few weeks ago.
I think that's sold today. If
congrats. That's a great guitar. Yeah. They discontinued them, so whoever bought that was smart. I like its passive, and I like the vintage Jack. I moved to K&K myself with a Red Eye preamp because Paul and Frank of the Paul Ucana trio used that, and I wanted to have the same thing. I get in so much trouble when I don't know these bands. Everyone gives me a lot of hard time afterwards. I don't know every band, all right? I admit it. They used that, and I wanted to have the same thing they do. Okay,
that's my friend Paul. He's a great player. That's Paul, Frank, and Spoon. They're the Paul Ucana trio. That's a really talented bunch of guys right there. I'll tell you, and they do have a great sound. I've seen them play all those guitars through the Red Eyes at Martin Fest, and I think if I'm right, Paul might have a Tone Dexter now, and I'd have to ask Spoon to ask Paul that. But I
want Spoon to try the Tone Dexter. I think he'll like it. Did you ever consider stocking those more? Did you ever try one?
Honestly, we talked to those guys about carrying that as a new item, and we're such a small team here. It's Lori and I, my brother Andrew, and then besides Heather helping us on occasion with some payroll, and I forget if she does. We have a fourth person here on a really limited basis, but it's a 3-person operation, and we really didn't have the time yet to bring in any new products and give them the launch they would deserve or the attention. The Tone Dexter is one of 4 or 5 things we talked about bringing in. I'm embarrassed to say almost a year ago now. I emotionally, as far as being a player, I want to, but it would be one of those things where I'd order 5 or 6 of them. I'd kind of put them in a pile. It'd be 3 months till we get pictures on the website, and I wouldn't be able to really promote it the way it would be deserved to, but it's something on my list for sure.
I get it. Have you ever tried one?
No, but people that I really respect that have, I know enough already that I would like it. I do.
Yeah. I think like I said, it's the future. Like the Aura system was ahead of its time and is cool. If you've got a Matrix, then the Aura system is really cool to use. But the Tone Dexter works with K&K, etc. The new bag soundscape thing sounds really interesting as well. It's a very similar idea.
That was,
Yeah,
I think I'm going to like that a lot.
I'm going to be reviewing that, I think. So I might even do a shootout between the two of them. That would be interesting.
Cool.
But they're both quite different, though. The Tone Dexter, you can use your own mics, and then the Soundscape, you use the mic in your phone. But they're both really good. And once you've heard that kind of sound, it's quite hard to go back, because you hear that more authentic sound. I'd love Spoon to try that and give his thoughts on that. I think he would really like it. But again, that's a whole new conversation. So I think that was really interesting. The only thing I wanted to do today, I wanted to show the models you have there, and I wanted to hear more sound samples. But I tell you what, everyone, when we do our next video, we'll try to include those as well, especially for comparison. Because if we do the Dreadnoughts next, perhaps we'll use your guitar as like a comparison. So we'll do some Dreadnoughts and all different. I think the Dreadnoughts differ even more because you've got the HD28, the D28, the D18. I think there's even more things to compare there than the OM. But we will use your OM next time to compare the OM to the Dreadnought so people can really hear the difference of the two.
Sure.
But I think with words we covered pretty much like what the OM is and how you like it. I think though with all these things, I think it's good to do your own research, and this is all just my opinion and your opinion, right, Maury? I think people should watch your videos on your channel with the different models. I think they should feel free to call you up and speak to you about these things and explain the kind of songs they play, how they play.
Yeah,
But honestly, if you want my opinion, you just cannot go wrong. An OM28, you'd never go wrong with it. It's a great thing. And, like you said in the beginning, why not have an HD? I love the HD28. Why not have an HD28 and OM28? You just cover everything with those two guitars. You really do. They're awesome.
I agree.
Yeah, they're awesome. Thomas Moore said I should go to NASFest. I want to. This year I was going to go to Gear Fest. I was going to go to Summer NAMM. I was going to go to the Chet Atkins Appreciation Society, and I would have tried to come to that as well. Obviously, it's not going to happen. I'm hoping to do some more stuff online. I think a lot of these things are going online. I wonder if NASFest is going online. That would be a great idea, actually, because why can't we just hang out online and talk about this stuff like we have today? Because it's fun, right? We all love Martin guitars and we all have an opinion on them. So why not just sit and share them together? I think it's great. And that's another reason why I want to do these videos. They're just to hang out and talk Martin. It's fun. I want to say special thank you to Spoon Phillips because he is a wealth of information. He probably knows as much as, dare I say, he knows as much as Dick Boak. Would you agree with that? Possibly more? No, let's not go there. Let's not go there. They know a lot. So I really appreciate him being there, offering his input as well. And again, everyone, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already and ring the notification bell. And please subscribe to Maury's music. Yes, I'm getting close to 5,000, so please subscribe to mine. Maury's already over 5,000. And he's got awesome... I think you've got demos on your channel of everything, right? There's probably a demo of every Martin guitar on your channel by now.
We're trying. If it's not there, it's coming. Yeah.
I would imagine so. And check out Spoon Phillips's YouTube channel as well. Martin Fest is having the guest artist doing a web workshop and performance. Okay, well, someone should organize one for the fans. Me and you, Maury, we should organize a something like this with some more guests just to talk about Martin and things like that. That'd be cool. I'm up for that anytime.
I'd be honored. Thank you very much. Sure.
Me, you, Spoon Phillips, Tim Teal, and I'm serious. And just get into the real nitty gritty of this stuff. I just enjoy talking about it. Again, as long as I say it's just my experience, my opinion, I feel like that's fair enough, right? I like to talk out loud about these things. Spoon is the man. Yes, he is. Thank you, Spoon. Thank you, Becca. Thanks to everyone that watched. That was really fun.
Thank you.
Next one coming up will probably be about the Dreadnought. Please suggest other ones we could do. I think we should definitely do. What other body shapes are there? Some of the lesser known body styles as well. We should do like the what's the guitar you had on today? The 35. What's the one that's bigger than OM but still thin?
The M36.
M36. We should talk about the M36 sometime because that's an interesting one. We'll do more. So yeah, subscribe to me, subscribe to Maury, subscribe to Spoon. Thanks for your input today. We will see you again next time, and have a great night. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.